What does body dysmorphia, what is body dysmorphia?
Where you see yourself as different. Because that's definitely what I used to have.
Yeah.
I don't think I wouldn't say I have it now.
I have it.
But that's definitely, it's looking at yourself. Because when I was at my worst, at my lightest, I dropped down to 6 stone. I don't even know what those in kilos, but I just know it was 6 stone and I was tiny. I was a skeleton, like. But when I couldn't see that at all, and I couldn't see it until someone actually showed me a video of me, and I was like, wow. And it was only then that I saw, but in a mirror, I couldn't see it at all.
So I feel like I've got it the other way round at the moment.
Okay.
Because I know I'm curvy, but I look down at my legs and I'm like, so skinny. Honestly, I used to have it the other way round, definitely. I used to look in the mirror and be like, whoa, I'm so big. But I honestly feel like now I look at myself and I know I'm curvy, but I can't see, it doesn't look bad to me. It just looks like...
I mean, a lot of guys in the gym have body dysmorphia. I think everyone generally has some form of body dysmorphia, but I think it's where you fit on the scale where it becomes very severe. So guys who go to the gym and they're like, you know, I've got to lift more, I've got to lift more. It's like, you're huge. You're like, no, I'm not big enough. It's like, because they don't actually, they don't see it. They don't see that.
My ex-boyfriend was exactly the same.
Yeah, they just don't see it.
And then it's, because you look at them and then, do you remember when they used to wear the tracksuit? Because for some, they can only wear tracksuit because they can't get clothes on. But it still is, as far as they're concerned, they still got more to do. Because again, it's the whole thing about boundary, isn't it? Because they've tipped over into a point where they can no longer see that that's enough, because the feedback, and we'll come back to this thing about the feedback that it gives, is that it's so nice. It's such a nice feeling. Why would I want to get rid of that nice feeling? And especially also if people are giving you compliments on it. So you might have been saying to them, no, you don't need that extra whatever. I think this is enough. And somebody else down the road then say, oh God, I want to get like that, you know? How did you do that? This really looks good. No, don't bother with them. I like the way when you flex it, all of that. And that's what the person wants to hear anyway.
Yeah, it's that external gratification.
It's the external gratification and the praise, absolutely.
Exactly.
So who doesn't want that?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's insane how much like other people like say. I always think about this, like that someone could say something to you and it can really like change your mental health. Like you don't know what you're saying, how it's affecting someone. And like just like that, like two different people could say two different things, and that like you'd only hear one of them. Yeah,
you choose, and it's a thing about choice. Same thing about you're saying to this person, look, hold on, I think it's time, blah blah blah. Or even if you're training somebody, right? And then you've given them some choice points, and they're choosing to go somewhere else. They choose it, right? Because we all do that. We all do it because we want to hear. This is what we want to hear. So we make choices on what we want to hear. All right? It's only when, that's why I'll go back to your thing in the aeroplane, when it wasn't a case of what you wanted to hear, it was, I'm not comfortable, I can't sit in the bloody thing, right? So no matter what anybody said to you, it doesn't matter anymore. I am now uncomfortable. So I have to listen to myself.
How would we know if somebody was suffering from body dysmorphia? How could we notice that in another person? And how could we behave if we noticed that a friend or somebody had that? If we start back with what you were saying in terms of your own experience, where the person, you're saying, look, you either got too thin or you got too big, one way or the other, okay? And the person is saying no, because they literally can't see it. And it's true, they literally, as you said, cannot see it in the mirror. And even when you sometimes put the picture up, right? Because you know the camera does all sorts of things. They still can't see it, all right? So it's only when they get to the point where they actually, something has to happen. And they actually look and they stand there and they see, you know what? No, this doesn't.
But this is exactly what happened to me.
How do you, and what I mean is from like a therapy
from my point of view
perspective, how would a friend or a family member deal with a person when you notice that somebody has body dysmorphia? How do you approach that as a someone in the support network?
Yes, it's when people, it's really gentle, and it's really going with basically chipping away at listening to what the person say in terms of how they talk about their body and how they talk about food and how they talk about, it's like a minute ago, like when I just picked up on, hold on a minute, no, you didn't do that. That didn't happen. It's when, So listen to the narrative, to the story that they're telling, because they're telling you their story based on their own experience of what they're doing, okay? Also pay attention to if they're secrets, if they're keeping things secret.
Like what?
So like, well, if we take about like the anorexia or whatever, hiding food, all right? Or eating and eating a hell of a lot and then exercising it. In 2 seconds they're in the gym or they're in whatever and exercising. And so you watch patterns of behavior that is saying, no, this isn't right. If you do that, if you're only eating this amount and then you're working out 3 hours more than what you're eating, then surely you're not keeping enough calories to be able to, yeah?
How would you approach that and say to someone, because I wouldn't want to walk up to them and be like, just let you know, I feel like you've got body dysmorphia. That's it.
but you might have conversations in the gym, like how you just get on the treadmill and then you're not chatting and you're chatting generally. But how often do you come? How often do you whatever? How much miles are you doing on? I can only do that. How come you doing? And yesterday, so you get into an ordinary kind of conversation with a person that is engaging them and befriending them, which isn't about judging, but it's actually just gently. I love the way your mum did it. Yeah,
like you're not going to fit in that scene.
But she didn't say it in that way.
Go and run around the block.
No, it was like, it's all right for us going there, but I'm not sure if you're gonna, yeah. And then and in that way, it left an element of doubt in your head. You said no, because she wasn't judging you like that, but she was also thinking. I can imagine as a mom thinking, oh my God, she might go in there and that thing is not going to fit and oh God, she's going to be upset. Yeah. So the mom in her was thinking, oh my God, any minute now, my daughter is going to... Yes, absolutely.
And I did.
She's going to have her heart broken, so I've got to be prepared to pick up the pieces. How can I support her to not have her heart broken? So those sorts of things where you just go gently and just be human, right? So it's not the judging of, I don't think that's right, You're not looking, you're not looking right. Or I think you got too skinny.
Because that can put people's wool up.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that, because actually people stop listening.
Yeah.
Right? The other one that I wanted to bring is, you might know about that one, Sam. It's the new one, isn't it?
Orthorexia.
Orthorexia.
Yeah. Is that the weighing food one?
Yeah.
And what is that?
Basically, it's and I've seen this in my best friend when she competed as a bodybuilder. Yeah. And actually seeing someone go through that process, I don't know if you've ever experienced that, see someone go through that the competing in bodybuilding, like weighing it to like the gram. And like becoming so obsessive, and that's exactly what my best friend did when she was in a competition. And again, I found it very difficult because I was like, I can see what you're doing, but how do I approach this? And it was very, very tough because she's a very stubborn woman.
Determined.
Yes, very determined. And so it was like, whatever I would say, she wouldn't have listened to me. So I was like, I kind of just have to ride this out. And she actually then saw it at the end after the competition and went back to her normal eating and was like, oh my God. And then come away from it completely.
Do you know what I think is, sorry to interrupt, but what I think is crazy is like, we now have a name for this, orthorexia, which is the act of like obsessing over your food and whatever. The fact that we have apps now like MyFitnessPal who are actively encouraging this behaviour. So what responsibility do they have in this kind of thing? And where do we draw the line? In terms of, Because
I actually, like, when I educate women about nutrition, I do tell them to download MyFitnessPal and start to track their food. But I say to do it for a week or 2 weeks. Because I say to them, look, does anyone here want to be a bodybuilder? No. Right, fine. So you don't want to be a bodybuilder. You don't need to put yourself in this position. You just need to start to get an understanding about what your food is and where your protein's coming from, where your carbs coming from. And 9 times out of 10, people are more... their meal is more carb dominant as opposed to thinking about the protein intake and fat intake in some circumstances. So just getting them to start to log their food for a couple of weeks, and then I'm like, don't do it. Like, just get away from it. You now have a bit of an understanding. And some women do then want to continue tracking because it helps them kind of monitor their protein. But again, it's like educating people not to go to the extreme and not worry about every little bit. And if you're 5 calories over, like, doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, I did have a client, she's, I wouldn't say older, but she's slightly older than some of my other clients. And I introduced her to MyFitnessPal and she used it, and then she stopped. She said that I felt myself getting a bit too neurotic about food. But in the positive sense, she said, but I'm now aware of, like, she knows how many calories is in her, like she knows her portion sizes now, just because of when she used to type it into MyFitnessPal, she would know that half a bowl of porridge equals XYZ. So now she's used MyFitnessPal for a while. She's now more aware of, so even now she doesn't use it, she's still very conscious about, she's more aware of foods and portion sizes and stuff. So she kind of educated herself, and she could bring it into her lifestyle now.
But are we doing it? Are we doing it for? You see, because I agree, I support that, and the people talk about food journals now as well, and food diaries and so on and all that. Providing it's like you were saying, providing it's what's the goal? We got to keep it. What's the goal? Is it that we want to educate you to understand something about how you eat, what you eat, the content of the food, and is the goal to lose weight? Because if it's goes to lose weight, then we're going to be looking at the calories. Yeah. Is the goal around being healthy and so on, and making sure we've got the right proportion in terms of, the right balance, that's right. If that's, and there might be another app for that, I don't know. But if it's that, okay, then as you said, it's really important that people absolutely use that as facing reality. This is what I eat, right?
Because a lot of people are unaware.
People are unaware.
That's what I was going to say. The amount of, like, when they say on the Cheerios packet or something, it says, your bowl of cereal should look like this. And we've all had the cereal thing and poured it in all the way to the top. And it's got a little mountain, and you're like, this is my bowl of cereal. And
I think this is definitely something that I'm like super passionate about, is like people need to be educated about nutrition, and it's like it still blows my mind. Like
you don't learn it at school.
No, and this is the
doctors don't learn it in their training.
And like part of my mission, like personally, is to get into schools and teach kids about nutrition, because I know that from my own experiences, maybe I wouldn't have I probably would have done, like, it's mental health, but I may not have hit the point that I hit with my obsession with food if I'd actually understood, and that's kind of how I broke away from it, and actually educating myself. And it blows my mind, like when I meet women who are 40, 50 years old who have no idea what carbs or protein are, and I'm like, how do you not know?
And also, like, food affects your mood, like the vitamins that you're putting into your body from your diet could be the link to why you are depressed or why you have anxiety.
Lack of vitamin D, lack of B12. There's a relationship between the nutrition and the mental health. Absolutely.
I was saying I have ADHD, and I was saying that a few years ago I had a whole year of, like, I had a vegan diet, I didn't drink any alcohol, I didn't eat any sugar, any refined sugar, I just had fruit sugar. And I would say that as much as I still have ADHD, because it's a neurological disorder that I was born with, I slept better, my concentration was much better, and I would say that I practically didn't feel like I had ADHD. I didn't have any of the symptoms of ADHD. I didn't even drink coffee back then. I know, it's hard to imagine, isn't it? She's in there somewhere, come on, where are you? But, if we could all look at our nutrition and, what could we achieve with our mental health if we just ate better food.
Diet. I mean, we hear that. I mean, it's good that, in YouTube, lots of YouTubers and lots of stuff on YouTube now about diet and exercise, and there are various people. So it's a lot more stuff out there that the young people could access, which is good. And I agree with you that actually going into schools and helping people to understand what. Providing, again, we don't get to the point where we now have to create another name, like what's that word? Orthorexia.
I was like, orthodontia.
Isn't it? It's because people have gone so overboard with actually the counting. But it's not only the counting, because at one point I was wondering if I'm thinking to myself, because even my daughter said to me, Mom, I think you are, I've never heard of it. I said, what do you mean? Because I'm vegan, and now I'm kind of mostly raw. And it's like, at what point do you stop okay? But there is something still addictive about that. Coming back to that point you were making about the thing about, in terms of how it makes you feel, all right? So yes, as you said, it really had an impact on your ADHD. Now, if you're having that kind of experience, why would you want to give it up? Do you see?
Because my life was boring.
Right.
I had no social life. I couldn't go out. If I'm not drinking, I'd go out and people would be like, oh, another salad and a glass of water, is it? I'd be like...
But you see, if you think it, you see, this is again what stops children.
I was healthy,
young
but
people.
I wasn't actually that happy. Because I was just not living life at all and
so it's
being
about finding
so
that balance.
limited. Yeah,
It's
if
a
we lived in a
balance.
vegan world where everything available is vegan and every night out doesn't involve drinking, but as a young 20-year-old woman,
it's not realistic,
being a sugar-free, meat-free.
I've told clients before, like one of my clients was like shocked because I was like, right, you're getting in your head too much. What's your food? Like, what's the thing that you really crave? And she was like, biscuits. I was like, have a biscuit every day. Or have 3 biscuits every day. And she was like, what? I can't believe, like, and this woman was actually obese. And she was like, I can't believe you're telling me to eat biscuits. I was like, because look, you're going to cut out, and this is what I find quite a lot, is that people cut out all these things. It's not sustainable. And then they
That's
like,
the
fall off the
word.
wagon.
Just go up and down and up and down.
And it's this yo-yo thing.
Yeah.
It's like actually have an 80-20 balance where you eat foods that you know are good for you and it's healthy. We've used this a lot. And then you eat the 20% of the food that you actually enjoy.
But why are we
for me, that's wine.
Why are we
Living life in
obsessing
moderation.
with that now? I'm going to come back to, if we think about it, way back, our grandparents and parents, blah, 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 they ate. They ate food. Right? I mean, we know, I'm sure you all know.
was different back
Food
then.
was different, absolutely. So
Quality.
I don't want to kind of idealize it, but at the same time, there's nothing that's changed from them times, or even from when I was at school, that is saying that what's being said now is balance. We have a balanced diet. Has that changed? It's not changed at all, right? Because you're saying the same thing, you're saying the same thing, I'm saying the same thing, you're saying the same thing. Because you said, if I did that all the time, I'd be bored, like what you were doing, right? So you said balance, okay? That never... Ages ago, they've been saying balanced diet, but suddenly we've had all this stuff that we just talked about, and the industry's come with all of this, and all this, blah, and then we've gone back to, well, you know what? At the end of the day, we just have to have a balance.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we just have to have a balance.
true, isn't
Because
it?
that's all that works.
It's so easy.
I think it's hard as well because there's just so much information out there. And it's like for people, that it's like, well, who am I listening
who do I
to?
talk to?
And I used to have a personal trainer who'd be like, you can't eat fruit, Sharifa. And I was cutting out fruit, and like I really just want a banana. I love bananas, and I just want a banana. But he's like, no fruit. Ridiculous. What do you mean don't eat a piece of fruit? It's from
keto
the
diet.
I mean, there's some times when, if you start with a client who has that aesthetic goal in mind, and they do overconsume sugar, whether it be from fructose or from refined, that you do need to go through that shock to your body so that your body comes sensitized to sugar, to insulin. So when it does get sugar, it breaks it down to use it for energy. If you have a surplus, then you just start putting on weight. So you sometimes do have to shock the body into becoming sensitive to sugar so that when you do put it back in the system, the body knows to burn it for energy. So I do sometimes subscribe, especially at the start of a program, if they're going for a transformation, and I feel like I'm bringing up the whole aesthetic point, but if someone does have a purely aesthetic goal, for maybe 2 weeks or so, I may cut out a food and then try and reintroduce it slowly so that body becomes a bit more sensitized to that food. So whether it be carbs or whatever, I do feel that sometimes someone does need that shock in the first 2 weeks, but it isn't sustainable, and you do have to reintroduce it slowly. Otherwise, you go into that point of yo-yoing, where you just come straight back in.
The idea of like, you can't have that food group. What does that do to your mind? I just think when you create all these restrictions, I always wonder how healthy is that for your mental health, for your happiness. And I know that when I didn't eat carbs and I didn't eat sugar, it was very difficult to. I didn't eat toast. for a long time. Best part of like maybe 2 or 3 years, before that. I eat toast every day now, just so I know you're all worried about me. I eat it every day. It's delicious, mostly sourdough. But I was actually a bit afraid of it. It's so weird, a food that's so ubiquitous and in every shop. I was literally, when I put that first bit of bread in my mouth, it did not give me, I wasn't happy. Suddenly I was like, hadn't even reached my stomach, and I was like, I am bloated. Because you always, and I don't know how healthy that is. When you're taking all these foods away, and is it putting a fear of food into our mindset?
I think you as a trainer, you should educate your client. So for me, if I was to say, right, we're going to take this away from you for 2 weeks, I would explain that it's only for 2 weeks. This is the reason why we're doing it. And I think that kind of takes away the guilt in your mind, because you know that you're doing it for a purpose. This is the reason why you're doing it. You're going to be reintroducing it. It's not just you can't have, because it is going to have a negative.
That's what my personal trainer said to me.
But I think
he didn't even give me a time limit. He was like, you just cannot eat those bananas.
Yeah.
I think this is also a massive issue as well, and I'm sure, like you've seen, the amount of, can I swear?
Yeah.
Shit trainers that are out there. Like, just so bad. And like, it's so easy. And I was having this conversation with someone yesterday about how easy it is for someone. It took me 8 weeks to get my PT qualification. I had no idea. My first client was morbidly obese. I put her on a treadmill. I had her running. I had her doing burpees. This woman couldn't move. And I actually went home in tears to like my best friend. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. This woman has given me her trust, her health, and there's so many trainers out there that do their qualification, they don't further educate themselves, and so then they just are telling clients to cut carbs or whatever, and it's just
and that is it's become quite it's like a buzzword, no carbs before marbs. We've all heard it. It's media that's kind of pumped that in, and so it is easy for someone to say, oh yeah, no carbs, I'll just cut out my carbs, because that's what we've been sold on so much. So trainers need to educate themselves, and also really need to educate their clients as to the purposes of it.
But keep up also with the research, because like recently been looking at all the research, some of the stuff around keto, some of this, because the world has changed, isn't it? It's like fat was bad, the fat you eat is the fat you wear, and then there was always slogans that's attached to all of it, And then now they come back, and then there's a balance, and then you have, as you were saying, you don't know who to listen to. There are people, the ones with the fruitarians, and the ones with and so on and so on. This is why I was saying, at the end of the day, we come to balance. But when you were saying, like you were going through the process, Aaron, in terms of what you were saying you might say to a client in relation to cutout. And again, it has to be goal-oriented, whatever the goal is that they've discussed with you, right? And then again, it comes back to the whole connection about if I know, actually, what I come to you, not just to lose weight, or even if it's to lose weight, that if actually you can engage with someone like me around, not just, as you said, not just the aesthetic, but actually to be healthy. I am in the gym to be healthy. I know sometimes people say it, but that's not really what they mean. They come to lose a few pounds, right? And
they're not at the gym at 5
They're not
a.m.
at the gym at 5 a.m. to be healthy. Or as soon as they do an exercise, they finish the gym and they go and step on the scale. I'm thinking, why are you going on that scale for? What the scale is right. So if it's about education, like you said, that I'm saying to you that this is how the body functions, right? That you can't just lose weight just like that. You've got to understand something about what happens to the blood sugar level. Some things you have to understand how insulin operates. So and I'm sure you both do it in terms of getting the real history. Same like how if I'm seeing a client for the first time, I take ages to do the assessment, right? Because we've got to get the history and the whatever, and then you've got to sit with it to make sense of it and so on. Before you say to the person, go on, there is this pill over here, or there is this so on, right, okay? So I'm going to take you off, eat the biscuit. The reason why I'm saying to you to eat the biscuit, because you know what? If I tell you don't eat the biscuit, you're going to come back next week and tell me, Sam, I had a whole pack of biscuit. Right? So I'm giving you permission because you can't give yourself permission to know when to have one biscuit or to have the whole pack. So let me help you monitor that by not actually taking anything away. Because once the brain here, mentally, once you're here, it's like you're saying, you can't have. You sit with children, tell the person I can't have. And I feel it. If I said, oh, no, I can't have, your body just, there's something also chemically that happens in the mind that it's just making you want to go for it. You're going to go for it.
But I think it's interesting, what you're saying here, because I feel like we've learned all these things now because we are of an age and we've gone through a certain level of life experience. But how do we get this idea into the mentality of a 13, 14-year-old young girl who's looking at Instagram or whatever and just, or seeing advertising that's telling you fitness looks this way and you'll be happy if you have this. How do you get that into the mentality of a young person where it really matters? Because to try and tell them all these things, just have everything in moderation and they're just going to be like, yeah, shut up. I'm going to exercise because I want abs, the end. And that's going to make me happy. How do we even have that conversation?
It starts much earlier than you listen from even when the child is about 2 or 3 or whatever. It's a bit like oh God, you got me on my soapbox now. It's a bit like, like when you were talking about your experience about dance, you start from the point of when there's an interest, a child just saying that I'm interested in this becomes the parent wants you to do it, right? When does it move from that, from I'm just interested in dancing, you see the child just doing their thing because they're just being free and so on. Then you say, okay, I'm going to take them to a dance school. And then as soon as you take them to the dance school, you start watching how this mom and how this other child, and then the competition starts, okay? So all of that has to be, I think parents have a big role to play in attending to what gets put into the child. And I know the competition is hard. The parents are having tough competition with that social media, right? But we go right back to when you put in the dress on the child and say, oh, we can't get the dress on because your arm's too fat. We have to watch the language we use with the child. Oh, no, I can't buy this for her because her legs is going to look too skinny. Or her foot is getting so big. The language is...
That is so
early.
True. Even recently, me and my mum went to All Saints and I put something on and she went, oh, that's very slimming, isn't it? Yeah. And, and then I was like, Mum, it doesn't matter if it's slimming. I like it fits me. And I feel like maybe, I don't know if it's a generational thing or if it's a mum thing, but I feel like there's that kind of toxic language that's so inbuilt into the conversation.
It's a toxic language.
It is. It's so like it's there. I notice it a lot more now, maybe. But that, if you think I've grown up with that. We probably all have grown up and heard these things from our people saying, "Oh, that's very slimming," or that's
and
not
size,
that healthy.
clothes size.
Yeah,
because that's another thing that we need to think about in terms of young people, right? Size 10, size 0, even in the model, 0, 2, 4, what does it all mean?
Why can't they be like pairs or like little, like funny little like emojis? Rather than a size. Like, I'm a size 18, but actually I'm like that sweat face emoji. Yeah. Maybe not, I'm the cool sunglasses emoji.
But you wear what you just said, when you said about your mum talking about slimming, but you said, but why can't you say, but it fits me. Wear what fits you, right?
People squeezing themselves into those size 12 and they're a size 16.
I want to be a 10.
But they're like bulging over the edges,
yes,
and you think there's nothing to do with you looking bad because of your size. You look bad because your clothes are 2 sizes too small because you're so desperate to fit into a size 12 that you're going to put yourself in that size. But you're not a size 12, you're a size 16. Own it, hon. That's fine.
We are going to end on that note.
Oh, yeah.
It's finished?
It is indeed. Thank you both for coming and having a chat with us. It's been amazing. Again, we could have gone on forever.
Forever.
So I just want to thank you guys for coming down.
You're welcome.
Thank you.